You are listening to the Take a Step podcast, where we help young men live every day on purpose. Today, we're joined again by John Szarszewski, where we sit down to have a great conversation with two other young guys. We've got John Wilson and Garrett Miller, who both work for FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They work specifically in their college ministry. And we have a great conversation involving both what these guys are facing on a daily basis, and then also what these young student athletes that they work with are facing every single day when it comes to the challenges, the advantages, and everything in between. And we really unpack some of these core topics and ideas that everyone who's building the foundation of their life will face at some point. So I know you guys will enjoy it. With that said, let's take a step. Welcome back to the Take a Step podcast, where we help young men embrace the process, take action, and find purpose every day. Today, we're joined by John Szarszewski yet again, and then we've got two special guests today. We've got John Wilson and Garrett Miller. Guys, thanks for jumping on the show.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having us.
100%.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we've got a good morning started off already, and pretty disgusting sitting here on the couches with a bunch of guys that just went through about 1,600 burpees and toes to bar and everything.
It should be the new start to every episode.
It should be.
You got to get through a workout with us first.
Yeah.
How you feeling after that workout?
I feel like I for sure worked out, and I haven't done CrossFit in a while, and I'm kind of sad about it. But we're out here, and I'm enjoying how I feel. I feel like I worked out.
Let's go. So. Awesome. Well, I'd love to open it up, just teeing it up to you guys to just kind of introduce yourself however you think it makes sense. You know, I know you guys are involved with FCA and college and work with a lot of athletes today. So it'd be fun just to kind of hear you guys, how'd you get into this world of FCA, a little bit from your background and just where you're at now?
Yeah, so we both went to UGA together. We met kind of through pretty much God just like pushing us together. And we ended up being super involved in a campus ministry. And so like our passion in like college was this ministry within our ministry called Connect. And basically we were just going out on campus, meeting guys who like would never step foot inside a campus ministry, would never like really step foot inside a church. And like one of the biggest tools we used to like connect with those guys was sports. And so we played so many like intramural sports, pickup sports, go just play basketball, and we'd like create these relationships with guys that aren't going to really happen in any other context, and then be able to be like, hey man, like I promise we're not weird, like come like check out what my life is about. And so like we built a really cool relationship around the idea of like going and pursuing Jesus together, pursuing like fitness together, and then pursuing like growth in every area, like physically, mentally, spiritually together. We were doing school together, we're doing our like faith together and walking in our campus ministry, and then we're like working out every day together. And so like from that, I don't think either of us knew we were going to end up in ministry at that point. But it's like, looking back, it's clear to see how like God orchestrated our relationship and then like how we operated in college until now. And so for me, I grew up in like a Christian home, and my dad worked for FCA. Nice. And so my dad's worked for FCA for like 38 years. He was one of the first like 50 staff or something like that. And for context, FCA is now at like 3,500 staff.
Nationwide?
Globally.
Okay.
We're in like 115 countries, which is crazy. So it's definitely boomed. So I was always around FCA and like always around a ministry where I, as a little kid, got to be around like college and high school and professional athletes who were all the same to me. They were just like dudes who were jacked and cool and were good at sports and loved Jesus, which was like such a cool thing for me to like look up to and be like, I want to be like that. And so that's kind of like probably a lot of why I like fell in love with FCA. So, but we did college together, worked in ministry together, at the Wesley Foundation at UGA. It's a big campus ministry there. And so during my 5th year of school, I interned with them and did ministry. That was a really cool program. We did like the Connect ministry, which I mentioned, which was like outreach, and I got to kind of like help head that up for a year. But we also did like a ton of kind of personal development and also like kind of what I would call like story work of like looking at my story and looking at what God has done in my life and like helping us like realize where we're going, where we've come from, like how we interact with people. And then I worked after that year at a ranch in Montana that worked with college athletes. It was we did a summer camp with college athletes. Then we were focused on leadership development. So colleges would bring their like sports team captains out to our ranch in Montana, and we'd put them through like a leadership development program.
That's sick.
For a week. It was awesome. It was really fun. Got to pretend to be a cowboy.
Let's go.
And so like I think like each step kind of makes sense looking back and like getting to look at it. And so I did that for a year, and it was awesome. But like half of the year I was doing like fundraising and was remote and not face to face with these guys. And so I was like, man, it would be awesome if I could do that part of my job all the time. And then the Atlanta area director for SCA gave us both separately phone calls about the position of being an area rep within the like Division III colleges in Atlanta. And so it kind of was like, of course we'd do it, you know, like getting to do ministry together, doing the like favorite part of my job all the time.
So how far, what's that territory? Is it just inside like the city limits, or is there kind of a...
Yeah, so we're in there's 3 Division III colleges in Atlanta, which is Emory, Oglethorpe, and Agnes Scott. And then our like Division III territory also somehow extends into like North Atlanta high schools as well. And so that's kind of the territory currently. We're mainly in those 3 colleges though, specifically us. Agnes Scott is a girls' school, so we're in heavily Emory and Oglethorpe universities.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You said something early on in that story where you would go out and you would have to convince guys. You're like, guys, I promise we're not weird. Just like come hang out with us, see how we do life.
Yeah.
You know, I get that, because for me growing up, like grew up in a faith-based household, like you know, had all the Christian values instilled in me, and I would look back on that phase of my life and would say like I would consider myself a cultural Christian.
Yeah.
Like I was around it all the time, but I always had this perception of like men who are extremely outspoken in their faith as like, I don't know, there's just this like weird feeling you get where it's like, okay, I can only like relate so much with them. I don't know, I just had like I always go back and say, I think for me, my mom was great, but my mom was for sure the faith leader of my house. And I got this like nurture-based view of like what it meant to be a Christian, and I didn't have a lot of like strong men in my life that I respected, that I would like want to, you know, do life with. And then once you get around that, it's like that for me, that was like the ignition to my faith once I got to college and it was around other teammates, because I played baseball through college. And when I got around other teammates that like respected in the gym, respected on and off the field, that then came up to me and was like, all right, Josh, like, are you going to come to church with us on Sunday? It was like kind of like, oh, like that. I don't know. It's just like this vibe where I'm like, okay, I actually respect these guys despite whether they're believers or not. And that was just like the ignition for me to like challenge me and saying, hey, it's okay to be outspoken about your faith and also be like a guy's guy as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like how challenging was it for you to be able to tap into that, I guess, build the trust with guys that, you know, they would want to kind of come around and associate with you guys, also knowing that like, hey, you're going to challenge them when it comes to their walk with Christ at the same time.
Yeah, I think I was blessed to have like my dad's awesome and like really in a lot of ways stepped up, like even from like his father, like really like broke some things and really stepped up and like showed me what it meant to be a man in a lot of ways, and so it wasn't like a foreign concept that those things could be married to me. And I think like for a lot of guys, as you were saying, it's like the church is kind of like over here and more like very emotional, not like manly, and then it's like all these other things that we consider to be like manly. And I think like in reality, if you are really like diving into scripture and you see those things are married, but like the culture's perspective of Christianity is not like this like manly thing.
100%.
Yeah, coming out of Christmas, we're used to baby Jesus.
Yeah.
Like culturally, it's like, oh, he's a soft little infant savior. Dude, he'd flip tables. Yeah. Like the guy was a warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think of the parable, going back to your upbringing and then also mine. You throw seed and sometimes it's on rocky soil and it won't take roots. Sometimes it'll be on low soil and it might take some root. And I think that was the majority of my life. But then as soon as the sun would hit it, it would just wither away.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that foundation. And then when I turned 31 and I'd searched the whole world and I was trying to find my idea of success and I was getting it from what the world standpoint was.
Yeah.
And I was empty inside. Finally, that seed was planted on good soil and it started to take root. And that's the frustrating thing with ministry work is like, you know what people need.
Yeah.
And we can't be the ones to actually deliver it. Like the Spirit has to move, but we can at least try to lead them to it. And when I see you two, I hear iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Like I love how you guys did college together, working out together, started the ministry together, and like you're constantly sharpening each other. It just speaks to the power of brotherhood.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I think like it is so important, and like I think it's so important for like everybody to be represented within Christianity for people to look up to. But I think specifically as like men with the interests we have, there's like a gap in what the representation of when people think of Christianity is.
100%.
And so it's like when we're able to like in society's eyes be like cool guys who are like pretty decent at sports and go out and play, that is not usually paired with like also my entire life is for Jesus.
Yeah.
And so it's like when we get to be around people and then we're like naturally if we go play pickup basketball and like you're really good at it, I'm gonna have an instant respect for you.
Yeah.
And then if you're like also I love Jesus, I'm way more like open to that because it's like I respect you already. And so if you're like you're good at sports, you're athletic, you're fit, you're like in the other areas of life like what I'm striving for and also, you know.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I love that you're talking about this because like when I started Take a Step originally, it was my mindset was like I love the world of personal development, and I also like was grounded in my faith, and I was trying to like I saw two errors on each side. Like the personal development industry, I feel like errors on the side of like the money motivated, you're your own God, like this one definition of success, right? But then I feel like the church on the other end errs on the side of kind of like the demonization of like wanting to go out and achieve something big and goal setting. And I was like, there's definitely a gap to bridge there. In my opinion, I think men, like especially young men that are like coming up, that are building the foundation, need more role models that are strong in their faith, but also live a life that's desirable for a young man to look up to. Like when you're talking about going out and being like a stud on the basketball court when you're playing pickup, like there's an automatic level of respect. Same thing for me if like I'm driven in business. If we demonize wanting to be a CEO and wanting to go out and achieve like business success, then I think we're doing young men a disservice because you're not giving them anything to look up to or aspire to be if all you're saying is like the only path for the Christian man is to, make $30K a year, preaching to some people, that's their life. But like that's not the only path for a young man today if they want to be a follower of Christ. And it's not like I hear that echoed through your words, and I think like I'd love to hear from y'all, like as you like the more young men that you get around, that you work with, and like you hear their perspective on life, do you hear that challenge between the two of like, okay, I want to be successful, quote unquote, because like everybody has their own definition of success, but like I want to go out and achieve something, but like where's the balance between wanting and aspiring to have that level of success, but then also wanting to stay rooted in my faith?
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing and then I'll let John speak. I think my like favorite pastor of all time is Tim Keller, and he did this one.
I just read Counterfeit Gods.
Yeah.
You read that?
Yeah.
I just read that by him.
So
Great book.
good.
I'm a J.D. Greer fan, and he quotes Tim Keller more than anybody else. So I gotta go straight to the source at some point and listen to him.
Tim Keller is the man, like genuinely. But he talks a lot about this. He has a lot of podcast. All his sermons are on Spotify, and so I'll listen to like them all the time. But he did one with entrepreneurs, and like his church is in New York, so it's like the guys, who are like trying to balance. Oh man, I'm like really getting there, success wise, but I also want to be here, and it feels demonized in Christianity. It's like, man, if you really love Jesus, like you need to like walk away from your like job and do ministry. And so like what he talks about, which is really cool, is like God the creator. Is like God in the beginning, he created. And I think as men, as people, like creation, as we are made in the image of God, creation is a holy thing and something we're made to do. So as men, as we like create, specifically in a business context, if you are creating well, that thing is going to grow. It's like, look at what God did. Look at how he literally is multiplying people.
And he called us to be fruitful
and multiply. And so it's like, if we are living in that calling and being creative and growing things as we should and like living into our purpose, naturally like success, money is going to come with that. And that, I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that's like a holy thing of living into a thing that God is, it's in his nature.
Yeah.
And so it's like you being creative and creating a business that grows and scales is actually like reflecting what God did at creation as well.
Yeah, and I think where it gets demonized, where it should get demonized, is when you view the wealth created as the focus rather than the byproduct. 100%. Like if you focus on creating the value and using like the time, talent, and treasure that God's gifted you with to add value to the world, and as a byproduct you reap the wealth. I think that's kind of like the way it was designed, but where our natural sinful flesh can err is saying, hey, like the wealth is great, now it's focused on how can we just make as much as possible. And we know that's fleeting, it's unfulfilling, and like we get it backwards. And I think that's where it should get demonized, but I think the church has taken that and say, hey, all wealth, like not all church, not the whole Christian faith, but I think where the Christian community can mess up is saying, hey, now all wealth creation is evil. Right? So what's your perspective on it?
I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of different things, but I think the first like initial thing that this kind of like reminds me of is like that each of us have value and like have a vision and have a purpose on this world, like in this world, like God's given it to us. And so like even just like whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's a skill that we have, it's something that we need to understand, that we need to step into. We shouldn't just like, for me, I like to sometimes be humble, which then like, but like this, it's not a healthy humble. It's like I take away some of the things that I'm good at and I like hold them in a box. And then, so it's like this weird balance where we need to lean into the things that we like should be leaning into. What I'm thinking about is the church specifically. It's like, all right, the church is a body, different body parts, different aspects of the church. And each of us have to be different for this body to work correctly. And so, like for each of us having different skill sets, this idea of learning about how to connect with people on the field. Right, learning how to build a foundation and a relationship with somebody before I'm trying to throw Jesus at them. It's like I want them so much to understand who Jesus is and his love, but I know that there's a foundation that needs to come, a respect, a trust that needs to be there before I like throw something at them. So then that's like the shepherding role of the church. That's where it's like, all right, how do I place myself in an environment that I'm being beneficial, being used for God's glory, but do it to the best I can literally do so that God can be glorified. And so even just like with the business entrepreneur perspective in the world, whether it's in the business world or not, it's that idea of like doing it to the best so that you can be like, you're not always being looked at, but like when there is that opportunity where God brings in somebody to like look at you, to be like, this is what I do, and I do it to the best I can because you are an example for that person. And I think that is the biggest thing. Like we talked about the gap between like young people and like growing like professions and everything. It's like we just need more examples of people that love Jesus and do their job well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's what I think it boils down to. And so it's like even in the places that we're not looked at, even in the higher roles that we're not at yet, it's doing our job to the best that we physically can do to then understand that God's going to do something. God's got a plan, and we need to learn how to do things well so that when we are on that platform, we're prepared for like those eyes. Yeah. To glorify God to the max, like to be efficient in our glorifying of God.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of guys like in this generation of young men today, like the instant gratification culture is very present. Like that's no secret. And I think a lot of guys want that level of status, that position before like doing what it takes to be prepared. Yeah. Like I heard an analogy one time of if you gave like an aspiring pianist if they wanted to, their dream was to play on Broadway, and a year into learning to play the piano, they were given the opportunity, and they go out and their performance is subpar, like the audience is underwhelmed with their performance. Like what does that do to their career? Like if you're given the point of the story is like if you're given a position before you're prepared and able to handle it, like the instant gratification culture is, yes, like you'll feel good for a moment knowing you have the position, but how like that's going to fade so fast because you're not going to be able to handle it. So you're going to be, you're going to be set back way further than you were before you even started. So I think a lot of guys, what we need to do and focus on with young men is really say, hey, embrace the process. Like that's one of the things I talk about all the time is like the process is, in my opinion, where success lies, not the destination. So many people have a destination-based view of success and saying, hey, when and if I get to a certain point, then I'll feel fulfillment. Yeah. When it's a false mindset because like it's saying, hey, accomplishment equals fulfillment. Like completely anti-gospel. Yeah. Right? And I made a post about this yesterday actually. I do a post every Sunday. Something gospel related, and it was talking about how like the gospel it's good news for all people, but specifically for like the young guys that are growth minded, that are driven. We can tend to lie to ourselves in saying that hey, my identity has nothing to do with my accomplishments, like I'm stronger than that. But we all know that's what we tend to default to. Yeah. It's like when we're doing something good, when we're doing the work and seeing the results and reaping the harvest, it's like we feel better about ourselves. And when the opposite's true, we feel worse about ourselves. We feel like there's something we're not doing wrong. We feel like we're unfulfilled with what we're doing. But the beauty of the gospel is that it's nothing that we do. It's nothing that we do, but what God's already done. And it's accepting that as a free gift. And like Ephesians, is it 2:8-9? It's like saved by grace alone, not by works, so that no one can boast. Like if we know young men, like the ego is a big thing, and the beauty of the gospel is it completely eliminates pride and the ego because it's nothing that we can do. And I'm sure like the young guys that y'all work with on a daily basis, it's like there's a lot of egos out there. Yeah. how do y'all combat that? Do y'all have like tough conversations with guys when it comes to them placing their work and their accomplishments at a pinnacle for their lives?
I think it's different per person, right? Because it's a different mentality and perspective that each person has and was raised in. And so I would say that there's a few guys I would say that come to mind right now. It's just like that have a perspective that is just different than ours, right? And maybe different than Jesus's for them. But at the same time, it's hard because it's not like, all right, bro, like, hey, this is a weird perspective that you have. You got to change this. It's, hey, like, what made you have this perspective, right? This story idea. Like, what are you thinking about when you have this perspective? Like, are you stuck in pride? Oh, you don't think you're stuck in pride. Okay, like, like caring for them in the way that Jesus would care for them.
Yeah.
Because even if you tell them the right answer, half the time it will not stick.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter if you tell them what to do sometimes.
Yeah, it's like they're going to learn much more profoundly through their own experiences.
Yep. And whether their mind starts to understand and starts to click, to be like, oh, okay, I am doing this and it is odd. Not, hey, bro, you're doing something odd. It's like, so it's more just like experience and like us learning too. Like for me, I'm still learning how to do it all and understand just the whole process. But yeah, it's a lot of question based.
Mm-hmm.
You have a pretty good story when it comes to like ego, being confronted with the ego, and like the old Superman John nickname. I'd love for you to tell a little bit about that story if you don't mind.
Quick little backstory on me. So getting into the gym business, I was going to be a firefighter paramedic and then own a gym on the side. It was the career path that I was chasing. And my last week of medic school, it was a coaching day for me. So I was in the gym working. Guy came in off the streets and he picked up a 5-pound plate, came behind me and he cracked me across the head. So left me with a brain bleed and a shattered face. Woke up in the ICU 6 days later. Wow. A lot more to that story, but we'll leave it out. When I woke up in the ICU, I had a Superman blanket on me. There's Superman balloons everywhere. Our gym had made these Superman John shirts, so everybody I knew in the community was wearing them. Wow. There were Superman John bumper stickers. So like you'd be driving around and you'd randomly see one. And it was cool to see how far like our influence had reached just in this fitness platform. But it was a moment God gave me my calling. He was showing me that like, hey, this is the community that I want you in to lead and to nurture. Wow. And instead of giving it to him, I made it about me. I'm like, okay, they need a Superman. I'll be that guy. I'm going to get myself back. I'm going to go. I'm going to recover. I'll get the surgeries. I'm going to own this gym. I'm going to be the best gym owner possible. I'm going to be the best athlete. I'm going to be the guy that everybody can look up to. And I tried to carry that weight of the world for way too many years. And outside, everybody thought I was crushing it. And internally, dude, I was crumbling. I have an amazing angel of a wife, but I was not being the husband I needed to be. And like our marriage was not thriving by any means. Had 2 beautiful daughters at the time. We now have 3, and incredible daughters that God blessed me with, but I was not the father they needed. I was trying, but all in my own power because I'm Superman. Yeah. And dude, when I finally heard the gospel preached and I'm like, oh, I don't have to work my way up to heaven. I don't have to have it all together. I don't have it all together. Yeah. I remember it as crumbling at church and accepting Jesus. And like that weight was instantly lifted. Thank you, God. Wow. Now, I still struggle with it and all. It's like it's a journey and it will always be a journey. And that's what I love about like you have to pick up the cross daily. Yeah. And if I go a day, a week without like taking my quiet time in the morning, I feel my attitude starting to drift. And like my default is Superman John. Mm-hmm. So like if you ever see me talking way too much smack in the gym, ask me like, hey, when's the last time you were in the Word? Because it's probably been too long. Yeah. Going back to enjoying the process for all the dads out there, the best 3-letter word for parenting is yet. Y-E-T. It is the best word that parents need to pick up on because kids are naturally born with egos. They also watch YouTube and they see like all these people that are, they're excellent at their craft and they're thinking like, oh, I should be able to do that. They can't do it yet. So many hours and work went into mastering that skill. Yeah. So like I think about teaching my girls how to ride their bike without training wheels. the first time I took them on or took them off, they couldn't figure it out. And instantly they can't do it, so they want to quit. They get these teary eyes, and I see the lip quivering, and you have to sit them down and be like, hey, you can't do it yet.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it yet because you haven't put the work in. Let's try again. Let's try again. And then recently, when I got them to learn how to ride their bikes, when they finally get it, dude, it is so fulfilling. But that's everything. Every skill, like, yeah, we don't have it figured out yet. Keep working.
Yeah.
Yes, and the beauty of the process is like, it's like if you can find passion and fulfillment in like what it took in order to be able to ride the bike, what it took in order for and that allowed you to be able to scale to $1 million business, that it took to be able to allow you to run a sub 5-minute mile, that it took to allow you to be able to run the marathon, whatever that destination is. Like, the destination is a great byproduct, like I said earlier, but like being able to find fulfillment in the process of the wins, the losses, figuring out what didn't work, making the adjustments, continuing to get better, like that process is so fulfilling when you know you're doing it because you love like the daily growth and not necessarily just like this one brief moment in time. It's like if you put all your fulfillment in getting to a finish line of a race.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say you get to the finish line, but you don't hit your time goal. Mm-hmm. Does that make the training, the nutrition, the race itself, all of that was now meaningless? Of course not.
Yeah.
Like it all is part of this like stepping stone journey, and like the cool correlation is if you look at your faith journey, there is no destination. Like, Jesus didn't come to save us so that we can just like stamp our name on the book of eternity and we're good now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he came to set a standard for a new way of living that's a daily process. And like that, there's no finish line at all. And I think the same thing is true with our faith, our fitness, business life, personal life, relationships. Like, it's a continual process that there is no destination for. And if we can realize that, then I think that's the key to unlocking real like fulfillment and purpose.
Yeah. And I think that's super attractive. Like, I think that like if somebody's driven, it's like even like male leadership. It's like when a guy or a leader is like driven and focused on something and doing something fully, it's like whoa, like you're drawn to them naturally. And so I think that even just comes through discipleship as well. It's like pursuing Jesus as well.
Question: do you guys take a Sabbath rest day? So
Let's go.
On this topic, like where you have to enjoy the destination, I found myself on days where I take a day off, dude, I don't like that.
It's like anxiety.
Yeah. Like it's horrible. But we are called to rest.
Correct.
So we don't make ourselves Superman.
For sure.
So that's been the biggest struggle for me this past year, is like creating this Sabbath rest, but it's also been the best fruit I've seen.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everybody out there, hustle your tails off 6 days a week, and then the seventh day, turn it off, because it's not all about you.
Yeah, I mean 100%. I think we do end up like resting. I think in like even in like ministry is a different world than like the business. Like I have a guy I've discipled for a while. He just like last year started a business, has been scaling it, like is killing it for, he's like 21, 22 and making more money than I will probably ever make, and it's like, it is so hard for him to turn it off, because it's like, I could be doing all X, Y, Z. And I think like that's really interesting. And like at the same time, I'm working in ministry, and so it's not the exact same. But I think like in the same way, like he knows he is who is making this business run, right? And that's like the wrong perspective. Yeah. It's like it's all God's anyways. And so in ministry, I can get in the mindset of like, I'm going on campus, I'm discipling these guys, I'm like the tool on that is changing lives, which is true. There's like, God is using me in this way, but it's like God is still God.
Yeah.
Like, God does not need me. He's choosing to use me, and like, praise God, I get to be used by him. But it's like, if I put myself in that position of being like, man, I'm going to work 7 days a week because I need to be out there, it's naturally like you're putting yourself in that position of like, all right, this is on me. I got to shoulder this. And so like it takes God out of the equation, and you're basically like, all right, God, don't worry, I got this. You know?
100%. I just thought of something when you were saying that I've never thought of before when it comes to the parable or the passage talking about it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. When like your buddy who's achieving all the success, young guy, when you unlock like the key on knowing how to replicate a process and scale, and it's like you've unlocked the code. And once you know that code, it's like, do you know how hard it would be for me to say like, hey, I know how to go out and do it, but I'm going to choose not to because I know like my fulfillment's not in that. It's like he knows how to go out and create all the worldly success he could probably ever dream of right now. Yeah. But being able to like having access and the knowledge on knowing how to do that, but then choosing to refrain from doing it for the purpose of your own personal ambition. I think that's what makes it so challenging is like, if you know what it like how to go out and achieve wealth and not choosing to focus on that, I think that's what makes it so challenging. It's because like these guys know how to go out and create.
Because what it did to me, I mean, it literally I know that process in the fitness world, so replicating it and doing it. And if I put the gas down 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, I know what I can do.
Yeah.
And all it did was lead me into borderline addiction to Adderall, nicotine, and caffeine. Literally, I was like turning myself into this maniac that had to constantly be going and going and going. And it wasn't until I realized, like, I can't, what am I doing to myself? Like, it's not about me. I need to slow down, take a day off. And it helped me learn my capacity. And we all have a capacity. Yeah. And I'm interested for you guys in ministry work, how many people can you successfully build relationships with and like disciple before you realize I've hit my quota and I can't be available for another 5 guys, and I need to actually go out there and make disciples that will now replicate what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Because like Jesus, he had 12 disciples. He picked that number for a reason. And I found myself like, I'll have to say no to like coffee meetups with somebody that I think might be important. I could give them some wisdom and help change their life, but I physically am at my limit. So it's cool to recognize I have limits.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you guys experienced that? And what's that journey like? Are you out there like trying to replicate you to the next person?
Yeah. Real quick, I want to speak to like the rest day. Like Tim Keller, again, he kind of talked about it of like almost like tithing money is like such a easy societal concept now, like in the Christian world. It just is like, it's still difficult, but like once you give your 10%, it feels like, all right, sounds good. But I think like resting is like, he compares it, basically you're tithing your time. You're basically saying like, I'm giving this day that I could be elevating myself, and I'm taking it and I'm giving it to the Lord and like putting it in his hands. And I think that's like a cool way to think about it as well, of like, man, it's not actually me. And like, even like looking at Chick-fil-A, like they're closed on Sunday. They could be so much more profitable if they
hundreds
were
of millions of dollars.
Yeah,
sacrificing.
But they're still like, God has now elevated them. I believe because they do excellent work, but they also like are honoring God in that, and they're still the most successful fast food restaurant
by far
in America. Like it's insane if you think about it. But
before you go on to answer his question, I can't let this slide. I saw a reel yesterday.
Yeah.
On talking about the rest day. It was we finally found the meaning for 6-7.
Oh God.
We finally found the meaning. We work God created for 6 days and then rested on the seventh.
Yes.
I don't endorse
We
this.
figured it out.
I'm impressed you guys aren't doing it. I figured you're that generous.
No, absolutely not.
Anyways,
Yeah,
John's holding it back right now. I can see it. He's on the edge of the seat.
he's not.
he's having to like.
I just want to do it, I guess. I've never done it in my life.
That's awesome.
To like what you were saying, so like FCA, like a few years back, I don't know how many years now, like FCA was an evangelistic ministry. It's like it's the biggest evangelistic ministry in the world, I think. And like the model of FCA was to go into a space, share the gospel, and then leave, and like just kind of like let it happen. And a few years ago, probably like, I have no idea how many years ago, probably at least 5, they switched. They kind of had a reset organizationally and looked at kind of what are we doing right now? Like, we are going and maybe sharing the gospel, maybe someone gets saved, and then it's like, all right, see ya. Kind of what you're saying, it's like limiting the growth that could happen because we're taking it upon ourselves. And it's like looking at what Jesus did and looking at Christianity now, it's like they switched to this thing called E3, which is engage, equip, empower. So engage, obviously, share the gospel, equip. Now that you know this, I'm equipping you to do the same thing I did in sharing it to someone else, discipling someone else, and then empowering, which is empowering that person to go out and do that thing, which is just discipleship. And so
The way I've heard, it's kind of the similar model to the L3 of learn, live, lead.
Yeah.
Like, you learn it, you got to learn something before you live it. You got to live it before you lead others, and after you live it for a certain period of time, you're equipped to now lead others. So
Yeah, 100%. And it's just discipleship. It's what Jesus modeled, and it's like now the ministry that we are doing. But it's like honestly, how dare I limit God by making it all up to me and not like equipping others? Because it's just ego at that point. If I'm thinking I'm doing the work and I need to be the guy who's discipling all these people, I'm saying, all right, God, it's me, not you. And so it's like, I want to go and be faithful, disciple guys, and then equip them to do the exact same thing, because that's how real multiplication happens. Like on campuses, we cannot afford to not do that because we only have 4 years with these students, these athletes, before they're gone. And it's like, by the time my 12 people or 8 people or whatever are gone through and like at the place where I'm like, all right, you're good, they're gone. And it's like, unless this multiplication happens, this campus will not change.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely will not change. I'll just be doing the same thing and resetting every 4 years over and over and over again. And it's like all on me. It's like, I want to give that space to the Holy Spirit to do the work that will be like revival through the process of discipleship and not putting it on me.
Yeah. 100%. And then it's also like, I mean, going back to the idea of Jesus, he had 12 disciples, right? And so he had 12 disciples and he changed the entire world, right? So obviously he had the disciples that he was intentional with. So he had not that many. So I guess the quality of time he got to experience with the disciples didn't look like, it wasn't, the quantity and quality were different, right? And so, but he changed the world. So it's like the idea of like, we have limits of discipling specific people, like 3 or 4 people a week, right? But then that doesn't limit the ministry we get to do, right? Like having our time available for others, to like not have, hey, I'm going to meet with you every week. It's, hey, I would love to meet with you, to connect with you. Just creating space and opportunity for ministry to happen. I think that's what Jesus did a lot, where he was interruptible, right? Like he created space and had opportunities throughout his life in a way to like connect with somebody that's in need. And I think that is something that I'm trying to understand. If I max out the people I disciple, I am not creating space for ministry to overflow or to happen on the outskirts, or to create an opportunity of downtime so I could rest or God could use that rest time to impact somebody's life.
That's where it's so important to balance frameworks and then also living with the Spirit. So, like, I live by my calendar, and I go into the week every week. I mean, I've got every hour accounted for. So I'm being so rigid with that calendar in hopes that God's going to put an appointment on the calendar and blow up my whole schedule. So, like, I'll have all my set appointments, all my set to-do lists, and then if somebody comes in and, like, the Spirit's like, hey, this person needs somebody to talk to, boom, it can all get pushed back. But when I'm living that way, 90% of the time when I'm sticking to it, I'm productive enough and effective enough where it allows for that free space for the most beautiful appointments, which are the ones that God sends and puts on your calendar. Yeah. That's awesome. Can you imagine being a disciple and you're with the Son of God and you know that, and he's like, you're going to do more than I ever could. What?
That's crazy.
Can you imagine that?
Like that makes, like, it's just uncomprehendable. And it's also the thing that I forget all the time is that we're sons of God. Bro, that's just wild. Like, the authority that we have over this world because of the authority God has given us, and we are just called to be responsible with. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like, that's crazy that I forget. I'm like, oh, like, God, will you do this? It's like, no, like, God, like, I'm your son and you care for me. You care for me in the ways that is beautiful and perfect. Yeah. Let me step into your courtroom, your room, and to come to you with the things that I care about and want and love, because he loves every aspect of it. Like a son, or as a father, like a father that's better than any other fathers. It's like, oh my goodness, bro.
Go ahead. And then at times we come to him saying, hey, I want to eat cake for breakfast.
Yes.
Like, as a parent, when my kids ask me that, I'm like, oh, you're so sweet. No. Yes. Here's some egg whites and some bacon. That's healthy for you. That's what you actually need. And they eat it, and they're not happy with it, but that's what they needed. Yeah. So he is the perfect father. And when our desires don't align with what he actually has in store for us, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. It's good when those doors close.
Yeah. Good. I was going to say, I think what makes it so hard for us to actually step into embodying what it means to be a son of the living God is I think our own identity issues creep in, because, like, we have this own perception of who we are, what we want to do, what fulfills us. And for me, and you guys are in the perfect stage working with guys in college, having these 4 years, in from my life experience, the most transformative 4 years of my life were in college. Because I was confronted with so many identity issues. Because I'd love to hear your guys' perspective on, the kind of some of the identity trends you see in some of these young guys, specifically young athletes today. Because for me, like, I grew up, going into college playing baseball. I was a small kid, played at a NAIA school, which is, small college, and I needed that because I was not a big recruit. I was 5'10", 150 pounds maybe, soaking wet. And I go to college. I develop a ton throughout my freshman and sophomore year. My junior year, have a breakout season. We had a kid, a senior on our team that year, get drafted, and I started to get a lot of those looks from scouts that were coming to our games. Going into our senior year, like, I was the guy on our team that, scouts were coming to see, going to showcases, scouts come, like, literally, like, and I don't say this, like, braggadociously, but I say this is, like, this is what was driving my identity at the time. When you show up to a game and there's 10, 15 scouts behind the fence and they're all there to see you. Like, for me, I was stepping into my walk with Christ in more of a personal relationship. And it was, I think that was Satan trying to continue to pull me back and not letting me fully engage and submit to Christ, because I could beat my chest every single time we had a game, seeing these guys that were here to watch me. And then in God's perfect timing, my senior year is 2020, COVID hits, season gets canceled, draft gets canceled. This whole, like, post-college life of playing pro baseball, me being the guy from my school that could, go back and say, like, yeah, I was the first position player from Truett McConnell to get drafted, and, like, I had all these things that I was going to be able to say that was just an identity booster or just an ego booster. Yeah. And my identity was, like, clung to who I was as an athlete, and COVID stripped that away. Didn't get to play professionally.
stepped into the world, and like that time during COVID for me, I was at a very low point because I was like, I didn't know who I was outside of an athlete. And I was confronted with, okay, who like I had in my bio identity in Christ on Instagram. But then I knew I was living a hypocritical life, because why do I feel so much anxiety? And I wasn't depressed, but I was just like, why do I feel so anxious in the stage of life? Right, when just like a vehicle that God gave me in baseball was taken away, but that doesn't change who I am, like who God says I am as a son of God. So like the whole identity conversation is very pivotal or very impactful in my story being an ex-college athlete. So I'd love to hear from y'all working with these college athletes. Like, do you see these identity challenges that they face on a daily basis?
I mean, 100%. I think like athletes, every single person is different. I think athletes obviously tend to, their entire life is performance based. You know?
For sure.
It's like where you go to school is based on your performance. How much you play is based on your performance. It is so easy, and I think I have some of these intrinsic mindsets as well, is to see like that can bleed into your faith so easily. Mm-hmm. It's like everyone else is a child of God, but it's like I'm a soldier of God. And it's like that's how I think about myself a ton. And it's like I can view everybody else as being like, God has so much forgiveness towards them. God has so much grace towards them. Like, but God has higher expectations for me. And it's like, I need to measure up to these things in order for me to be put in the game, really. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that is the mindset that you see so frequently in athletes, is like, they view God as a coach and not a father. It's mm-hmm. like,
that's a great one.
Yeah.
I like that.
They like, I think like, because that's how they live, yeah. You know, it's like your entire life, if you have been living, believing your worth is based on your performance, and that is reinforced your entire life as an athlete, yep. It is hard to turn that off. It's like every authority figure is telling you your performance is determining your value to the team. And it's hard to turn that off when you go to a different authority figure, which is God. It's like, that is a crazy switch to have to make. And so I think like often it can become like very upsetting and very difficult to think about like, man, like I want to follow Jesus, but it's like, it can become very like, there's all these rules. I'm never going to live up to this. My performance is not good. And so it's like, it's easy to be like, oh man, I'm gonna throw in the towel because I'm not gonna live up to this metric. And so I think that's a mindset like you can run into a lot, is like not even trying to hit the mark because it's unobtainable. But it's like that's the point. But I think that's such a hard switch for athletes specifically. And many people who, whether you had like a father who was like that, more of a coach than a dad, or like you put your worth in grades or in school, it's like that mindset easily slips into so many people, but like specifically athletes have this mindset. And I think like there's so much redemption in God will renew your mind if you give yourself to Him. But I think there's also a factor of like, you have to do work looking at your story and like digging up the dirt that is there and looking at your relationship with your coaches, looking at your relationship with your parents, your siblings, to like be able to live in the freedom from those mindsets that God has for you. And so I think that's a lot of what I've seen in these guys, in these athletes, is like this mindset is so ingrained. It is what they've been trained on their entire life. And it's like God has instant grace for that mindset. There are still so many earthly things that we have to work on. And it will be a process for the rest of their lives to like get out of that mindset. And so I think like it would be foolish to try to do that on our own and not like use tools. I'm a huge proponent now of like what I would call like story work. I see a guy now who's like, he's like a Christian counselor basically, but he does it in a different way, in which he calls like story work, where it's basically like going back, looking at all your relationships, looking at like why you are the way you are, how you interacted with all these people in your life, and like how that influences how you're gonna treat your wife, how you look at God, all these things. And it's like, I think that is like what sanctification is, and like with the process that has to happen for all of us in this. But I think it's like, it's necessary to have tools to like fix these mindsets, because it's like, genuinely, like these athletes are so ingrained.
Yeah,
that's like what you've been taught.
I think the beauty of the athletes that are coming out, like a huge strength that they have is like, it's not like they're not willing to do the work. Mm-hmm. Like they're willing to embrace the adversity. Yeah. They've been ingrained in how to handle and overcome adversity their whole lives. And I think that's a huge advantageous side of sure. Coming out playing most people who step into the workforce have never had to embrace like working for something and then not reaching the goal. 100%. And they like athletes see it every single day. 100%. So it's not a problem or a challenge of not being willing to embrace the process, do the work necessary. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, because it's my background, is how do we get people to see the necessity of it's not working for you, you know? It's like where's my purpose in God's story? What's God called me to do, rather than the mindset of like, how am I working in order to get a result that will boost my kingdom, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's also just like recognizing that mindset is not the correct one.
Yeah,
you know, because that's like that's the first step.
The thing is like it's you can help guide people to that perspective shift, but at some point, this is the beauty of God's timing and not our own. It's like they've got to be able to experience, hey, I worked so hard for myself and it led me nowhere. Yeah. Like you were saying, like I did all this, I built my kingdom and I'm still so unfulfilled. Like, in my opinion, like people have got to go through that at some point in order to like see the perspective shift and experience it for themselves, because that's like, that communicates so much more of a powerful message than you just saying, hey, that's not the right path. That's not the right perspective to have on the situation. You know?
I'm still caught up on athletes viewing God as a coach, not a father. Yeah. And I'm just thinking where that trickles down, the single parent epidemic in this country where fathers leave the homes. Mm-hmm. So these athletes from a young age are growing up and the only father figure, the male figure in their life, is a coach.
Yeah. So
they're subconsciously, they're just seeing from a young age, this guy's a coach, and that's who they're looking up to, and they don't have that dad. And we're coming on an hour, so we probably have to wrap it up. But that was the mic drop moment for me, is them seeing God not as a father, but as a coach. You got to impress. You got to earn it. You got to earn the playing time. You got to, hey, look at me, coach. Look what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, it's so good. There's as we wrap up, there's one question I love asking guests as they come on, just because it's so on brand with like what we do behind Take a Step on helping people really step out and pursue something that's in line with the purpose that they feel like God has for their lives and the way He's designed, like uniquely designed each and every person. You know, so many young guys are living a life where they're kind of in that foundation building stage, like post grad, you know, establishing their careers, starting to build the family. And a lot of guys are stuck. Like they feel stuck because they're just kind of going through the motions, making the comfortable decision on repeat. In y'all's perspective, especially in like working with the guys you work with now, like what do you think? How can young guys pursue a life that is more purposeful for actually like something that's going to be fulfilling for them on a daily basis, rather than just kind of like stepping into this life where they feel like they're just doing what they're supposed to do or making a comfortable decision because it's going to be easy?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the idea, it all starts with identity, right? Like, who are we? We're sons of God when we are in the family of God, right? Mm-hmm. And so first and foremost, get in the family of God. Accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior, right? And then understand that with that, that connection, that tethering that we have connected with God, it's super important to understand that. And then from there, what are we gifted at? God's gifted every single person with a specific gift for a specific calling, for a specific reason. Understand that, enjoy that, remind yourself of that. I forget that a lot. And so I think that that's a great perspective to understand, to then also get yourself in environments to be able to use that gift. Because I think most often we like doing the thing that we're good at, just in general. And so I think that is like the things that I think is just super important for like just men in general, and to then understand that God doesn't have us doing these things for fun. It's like for necessarily for no reason. It's for His glory, and for Him to be glorified. People are going to watch and be attracted and understand that even if no matter what platform we're on, no matter how small it is, it's like if you influence one person, that person, discipleship lens, can go influence 5. But you are in charge of that one person.
Yeah.
So it's like
we
can't
effect.
Exactly. We can't have a perspective of like, oh, well, I'm not being used by God that much because I'm only talking to one person a week at the gym. It's like that one conversation at the gym every week could change their life, and they could actually do some crazy things. That trickle down effect. So it's just that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like you look at the men in the Bible, you look at history. I think like the thing that sticks out to me most for men specifically is, one, passivity is the enemy of man and the enemy of growth.
Amen.
Passivity is probably the number one thing that takes us away from our purpose and who we are supposed to be as men. You look in the Bible, you look at like the very first sin. What is it? It's passivity in Adam. The very first sin of a man is not reaching for the apple. It's being passive in that exchange between him and Eve. And you look at Abraham, you look at like every single man in the Bible, you look at David, it's being passive in life and letting things happen to you instead of being someone who is doing things.
It's life by life by default versus life by design.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other thing is, I would say, vulnerability is the catalyst to growth, especially in men. I think like men have been taught in a lot of ways and reinforced, and even as it's now like much more socially acceptable, like vulnerability specifically in a faith journey is like what is going to be the catalyst to growth. Sin thrives in the dark, like bad habits thrive in the dark. I have to be vulnerable. I have to have accountability to be able to grow. And so I think that's like my biggest two things for like young men, what I would hammer into my brain if I was like looking at myself at 16 is like, look at yourself in the mirror every single day and ask yourself if you're being passive in anything, in any area of your life, and then are you being vulnerable? Like, there's so many things that we just sweep under the rug and don't take as that big of a deal or make excuses for. And it's like, what does it look like to be like fully vulnerable and like put those things into the light so that you can grow? If they're not in the light, they will not grow.
Amen.
And so it's like that. Those are my things that I would say. Don't be passive and be vulnerable.
Amen. Dude, yeah. And it's finding the groups and the spaces where you know that vulnerability will yield growth. Like doing it in the right spaces. Shameless plug for the tribe, by the way. If you're a young guy, growth-minded guy, 20s, 30s, look into the tribe for sure. Guys, thanks for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Like you were talking about, you have no idea the power of like one conversation and the lives that can change as a ripple effect. Like one or two guys that hear that message, hear something on identity, on not being passive, on being vulnerable, like that one thing for that one person listening today makes this entire show worth it. So thank you guys for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, thanks for listening to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a rating on whichever platform you're listening. And always remember, no matter where you are in your growth journey, every mile begins with a step. We'll talk to you in the next episode.